Welcome to the Construction Disruption Podcast, where we uncover the future of design, building, and remodeling.
I'm Todd Miller of Isaiah Industries, manufacturer of specialty residential metal roofing and other building materials. Welcome to Construction Disruption, where we like to think of each episode as a job site for your brain. Hard hats optional, bright ideas guaranteed. Today I'm joined by my co-host, our creative director, Ryan Bell. What's going on today, Ryan?
Well, not much. It's Friday. The weather's beautiful. Do you want to hear a construction joke?
I would love to hear I've been waiting for this all day.
Sorry, I'm still working on it.
There have been all kinds of job site delays. Those doggone masonry guys haven't showed up yet.
Part of the business.
I get it. Well, I am excited about today's guest. This is someone been a good friend of mine for quite a number of years, more than either one of us likes to talk about. But I'm really excited today to have someone who is very well known in both the roofing and the solar worlds. Rob Haddock is CEO and founder of S5 and owner of the Metal Roof Advisory Group. With over 50 years of industry experience, Rob is very much a sought-after speaker and trainer in the metal construction industry. Additionally, his innovations at S5 have paved the way for metal roofs to be the preferred base for solar attachment, as well as just generally further the metal roofing industry in so many ways. Rob, welcome to Construction Disruption. True honor to have you here today.
Thanks a lot, Todd. It's good to be with you. We've known each other for a lot of years, so I'm glad to share this screen with you.
Hey, good time. I'm looking forward to it. I have to say, though, that kind of hit me when it said over 50 years of experience you have, Rob. That's pretty amazing. So I heard, is it true that you were born when the Dead Sea wasn't even sick yet?
There's your joke.
There's my joke. I've been waiting all day for that one, Rob. And I'm always trying to remember, who's older, you or Dick Buss? You're about the same age.
I think we're almost exactly the same age, maybe within 6 months or something.
That's cool. I need to get Dick on the show sometime. I haven't had him yet. Well, again, Rob, it's great to have you. Your career has taken you so many places, both literally and figuratively. And we really want to jump into the meat of our conversation, looking at your contributions to the industry and where you see the industry right now. But can you first give our audience kind of a quick look at how you made this journey from professional bull riding, which not everyone probably knows about you, from professional bull riding to entrepreneur and metal roofing guru? What was that journey like for you?
Well, life happened, Todd. And there aren't too many bull riders still competing past about the age of 30. So it really isn't a sustainable career path. But back in those days, I also cowboyed in general, working ranches and feedlots. But that isn't exactly a sustainable career path either. Then one day when I was out checking cows, I had an epiphany about all that. And I came off that ranch where I was working and went to the big city to make my fortune. Strike my fortune, as they say.
Amen, fortune. There you go.
Yeah, I was 19 then, and I kept riding for the next several years. But riding bulls is kind of like any other extreme sport. You really can't do it part-time. It's all in or all out. You've got to be giving it 110% or you'll disappoint yourself. So I had been to welding school and fell into part-time steel construction at age 19. And for the next 18 or so years, I pursued that. I started my own business, and over that time built over 500 metal buildings in 36 states before I sold out and retired from that business. And in tandem with all that, I started a consulting practice pertaining to metal roofing in about 1984. So, in combination with buildings that I had built and forensic consulting work that I did, I'd been on tens of millions of square feet of metal roofing and learned about what everything that goes wrong. And I started writing about it and teaching on the subject, hence the guru piece of the puzzle. And I've also traveled the world to gain additional perspective on how things are done around the globe. Not everything is done the same way it's done here in the US of A. And in 1991, I retired from construction, and I started inventing solutions for the many problems I'd encountered on one roof or another, and many roofs.
That's amazing. Quite a story. And sometimes, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention, I guess. Sometimes you see something, you got to fix it. So back to the bull riding, I have to ask you, did you see a movie that came out recently called The Last Rodeo? Did you see that?
No, I haven't even heard of it. I'll have to write that down.
Good movie, has a lot of faith component to it. I think I kept thinking about you the whole time I was watching it, actually. It came out a few months ago. So I'm curious. I mean, again, long storied career in this industry. What are some of the major developments that you've seen in metal roofing over the years? And, why has that made you a real believer in metal as a roofing material?
Well, there have been lots of improvements in fabrication and automation and those kinds of things. But I think the biggest milestone in my own lifetime was the invention of galvalume-coated steel in the late 60s by my old friend Ange Brazillo. At that time, G90 galvanized was the go-to coating for steel. And this new coating would outlast G90 by a ratio of 3-to-1 in most environments. Trouble was, nobody knew that. And for many years, it carried an inherent 20-year warranty. And then after several decades, the producers raised that to 25 years. But still, no one knew, because these roofs weren't wearing out. And no one knew how long to expect them to really last. I know you're familiar, Todd, with the field service life study that I led for the MCA, which began about 2010. And that study proved conclusively that this coating had a service life in the range of 70 years. We went and dissected roofs on 14 different buildings all over the U.S., and we did lab analyses on them and so on and so forth. But as a result of that, I think an indirect result of that study, within the last few years, 3 major domestic producers of galvalume have raised their warranty to up to 60 years. And that, I think, is a real landmark. Certainly, I don't mean to diminish other things that the industry has been doing, but for me, that's the big one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I know there's information about that still available on metalconstruction.org. And if I recall correctly, that was also the study where you folks dug into some of the sealants that were used on the roofs as well, because the concern was, well, okay, the galvalume lasts long time. What about the sealants? And you found similar life expectancies there as well. Is that correct?
That's a key point. In fact, the galvalume coating in most cases would last. I think we have some studies that show on some roofs in some environments that the coating would last over 150 years. But the sealant was kind of the wild card. But when we did those surveys, we wanted to determine what could a specifier or building owner expect out of the service life of his roof, everything included. And so we inspected and projected the lives of fasteners and flashings and gutters and so on and so forth. So it really was a whole roof service life as a package.
Amazing. So I think one of our early interactions a number of years ago was you had started the Metal Roof Advisor group out there in Colorado Springs area, and I had sent one of our team members, I think Jeff Mesher, out for some training or a class with you, and I think that was one of our early interactions. But kind of curious, what knowledge and skill gaps are you seeing out there for contractors? That might be keeping them from getting involved with metal and construction?
I would say that the knowledge gaps largely consist of a lack of understanding of why it's important to do things a certain way. When you don't understand why something is important, you're a whole lot less likely to actually do it. And so in the lectures and classes that I do, I strive to emphasize the underlying reasons for everything. And people really relate to that, and their level of comprehension goes way up. They're able to digest infinitely more information.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think understanding the why is such a big thing. Well, so you talked about how, you developed S5 as a way to solve problems you were seeing out there. Can you give us kind of an overview of S5 and your various clamps and attachments and product offerings, and maybe review also what led you to see the need for those inventions?
Sure. As I said, my exposure to the metal roofing industry was considerable. And most of the problems on metal roofs were caused by other trades not knowing how to affix things to metal roofs and integrate them correctly. They didn't know the right way to do it. And that's totally understandable because there really wasn't a right way to attach things to metal roofs. So it was kind of by hook or crook, by guess and by golly. And it was almost always done with screws, which created holes, and worse, pinned the metal panels to the structure, violating its ability to cycle thermally. The metal roofing community at large responded by sticking their heads in the sand. You can't mount things on our roof. It'll cause leaks and you'll void the warranty. But people have to mount things to roofs, so it was a catch-22. And every time they did it, it violated the integrity of the roof. So the roof manufacturing community had a good point. The most obvious application that I spotted was the attachment of snow guards. There were lots of snow guards on lots of roofs in northern climates, and they were either screwed on, causing holes again, or glued on, in which case they fell off after the first couple of winters. So I kind of mused with myself, I got to come up with a better way to do this, the right way to do this. And as soon as I had that aha moment, I knew I'd come up with much more than a way to attach snow guards. But that was the low-hanging fruit at the time. And so I took that invention to 4 different companies. I had no intention of commercializing it myself. I took it to companies that were far more qualified to commercialize products within that industry space than I was. But they all turned it down. There's no market for it, they said. I didn't want to, but I had to commercialize it myself. It was a kind of a default situation. I knew there was a market for it. And today we have over 200 issued patents in our company patent portfolio. And S5 products are sold in at least 86 countries of the world on over 3 million roofs. They can be found on the headquarters of IBM, Apple, Google, NATO, every Costco ever built, many FedEx and Walmart distribution centers, not to mention tens of thousands of homes. But remember, there wasn't any market for it.
Wasn't a market for it, yeah.
And it's really become a disruptive technology. To think that standing seam roofing had been around for about 1,200 years and no one ever thought of a good way to attach things to it is incredible to me. But S5 was the first company to come up with tested, certified, engineered, and manufactured solutions and offer them within that market space.
We talk a lot in the industry about what S5 has done in terms of, furthering the use of solar and other attachments on metal. But the fact is, I don't think you guys get enough credit for what you did to further the use of metal, period, because suddenly metal became the preferred base for all of those things because we had a way of attaching things without whole bunches of screws and holes and so forth.
That's why I say it's a disruptive technology, because it actually changed the way people think about metal roofing. On the one hand, it was, no, you can't put anything on a metal roof, but you have to put things on metal roofs. It was the least user-friendly, I guess you could say, owner-friendly, building owner-friendly, because there was a prohibition about mounting things on it. And that completely switched with the S5 technologies.
Absolutely. Well, I know you folks at S5 have developed a real, as you mentioned, strong international presence, especially with solar attachment. But, what are some of the big countries right now for solar?
Well, almost anywhere outside the U.S. Due to the recent action by the administration in rescinding the investment tax credit. Not every country needs tax incentives because their cost of electricity is so high. It's 2 or 3 times what ours is in the U.S. and most parts of the world. So solar pays for itself in less than 5 years and generates power for over 30. Here at home, it's not that way anymore. And so it really did need the incentives to improve the ROI on the huge investment that people make with respect to solar. So anywhere in the world, and by the way, metal is more popular in more places outside the U.S. than it is within the U.S. Of course, the U.S. is a huge market, but the domination of metal roofing in the roofing market at large are much higher numbers outside the U.S. in a lot of places than inside the U.S.
Yeah, I think that's an incredible story also. And well, just last night, I had a metal roof manufacturer in Romania reach out to me and say, "Hey, Todd, we need to talk." I said, "Absolutely. Let's set up a time to talk." Well, tell us a little bit about your structure at S5, your various locations, how you cover this global presence that you have.
Well, we're a closely held company, Todd, as I think you know, and family owned. We've been debt free since our inception. We do almost everything in-house. That means prototyping, accounting, video production, certified testing, sales, marketing, IT, engineering, and design, and certified manufacturing. A lot of people call us a manufacturing company, but we're not. We're an innovation enterprise that does its own manufacturing. We have a 76,000 square foot state-of-the-art production facility in Iowa Park, Texas. And no, that's not in Iowa. When I say Iowa Park, a lot of people think the Iowa were actually a tribe of Indians that stretched all the way from the panhandle of Texas up into Iowa.
Okay.
At any rate, so I digress. But then we have another satellite production facility in Bilbao, Spain, to serve the European community and the MENA region. We're also bringing another one online to serve the Canadian market. And our office campus is right here outside Colorado Springs in Black Forest, 600 miles from the factory in Texas, including the lab building here. This complex is over 12,000 square feet. And then we have teams of S5 employees in many regions of the world who all report remotely, of course, to this office here in Colorado.
That is quite an enterprise to be managing and leading for sure. And I know everyone that knows you has a great deal of respect for your leadership and the leadership of your family as well. Well, I was talking the other day to a solar panel producer here in the U.S., actually a solar shingle producer, and they said that they have really reined back their growth plans for this after this year due to the federal tax credit going away, which you alluded to earlier. Are you seeing other people kind of scaling back also?
Yes, plenty of them. The solar space became kind of the .com or housing bubble of the day, and many companies were very over leveraged with debt. The curtailment of the ITC will stunt the growth of the residential market. So the producer you're inferring is going to suffer that. But the commercial market is still alive, but with a lot of additional caveats, and those keep changing almost weekly. But the commercial market is still alive with, as I said, with some caveats.
Would that commercial market include, municipalities who are putting in little solar fields and things? Would that be included in that?
Yes, of course. We stay in the rooftop space.
Right, absolutely.
So I can't speak to all the whys and wherefores and what have you with respect to solar fields, but it's my understanding that they are not going to be killed as well. Again, I think there'll be plenty of caveats about how you define domestic content and how you do all these various things. It's an ongoing thing.
It's interesting. Our little city, we're here in Piqua, Ohio, has put into solar fields, and we were one of the first municipalities back, I think in the 50s or 60s, to start playing with nuclear energy as well. So for some reason, Piqua, Ohio has always tried to lead the way in terms of energy.
Well, and I think you'll also see certain states that are very solar proactive, that because the federal investment tax credit is now more or less disappearing. I think you'll see some of the states and utilities pick up the slack. So it's not a total bust, I don't think. A lot remains to be seen. But if states subsidize solar, it replaces the federal money to some extent. Same thing is true with utilities. I mean, a lot of times public policy puts the onus on the local utility to subsidize solar. It remains to be seen, and my crystal ball is not totally shattered, but it's mostly broken.
Yeah, we'll see how it all plays out, that's for sure. Well, you have created such a remarkable global brand with S5. Okay, well, I have to ask you this. Tell us a little bit about the origination of the name S5.
Well, if I told you that, Todd, I'd have to have you knocked off.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I don't have to know then, actually, Rob.
It's a trade secret, and it's closely held. My kids don't even know.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, this is like Colonel Sanders and his recipe almost here. Well, tell me a little bit about, though, what it's like to, lead an organization of that magnitude, as we talked about, how you're doing all this international stuff.
Yeah, I never, when I invented S5 attachment technology out in the workshop in my barn, I never imagined the magnitude that it would achieve. I sure stay busy and fly about 250,000 miles a year. But of course, with stages of growth, it didn't all happen overnight. We went through growth stages, and there are then also growth pains. I figure at this juncture, my job as the CEO is to look down the road and avoid making a wrong turn. It's also to remove obstacles that others on staff may not see. And it's also to lower the hurdles and eliminate dysfunctions both inside and outside the organization. And to be sure we keep doing things the right way. That's our ethos, and I've never paid much attention to conventional wisdom, so to speak.
Love it. Well, reflect a little bit on residential. And I know we've talked a little bit about how the tax credit going away is hurting residential solar, but talk a little bit about your thoughts on residential metal roofing. You know that's where my heart has been for a lot of years. Do you see that as continuing to be a growth market, or what are your thoughts on that?
I do. I think it goes deeper than solar viability. Certainly, the metal roof is the perfect mounting platform for solar. But there are many other attributes of metal, as you're very much aware of them. I think an aging population is coming to appreciate that things don't last forever. So when it comes to roof replacement, they're turning to metal because of its life expectancy, its service life. It doesn't last forever either, but almost. We just need to continue to get that word out.
It's been interesting. I've seen a number of attempts where remodeling contractors have tried to get involved in solar, and even guys who are involved in metal have tried to get involved in residential solar. Seems like it's, they always run into challenges. Well, I don't want to have to deal with electricians. I don't want to have to deal with the permitting, all that type of stuff. I'm just kind of curious, though, do you think that we will see solar move more into the residential contractor, or will always kind of stay its own solar contractor thing?
It's really been, as far as the tradespeople that do solar, it's always been a little here and a little there kind of thing. You have electricians who have adopted the solar buzz, the solar craze, and are tending into it. You have a few roofing contractors who are doing the same thing. And then you have the typical solar EPC, which is kind of its own subset. And so you have a real hodgepodge. I think that well-organized contractors who don't have a mindset of this is a get-rich-quick thing, attacked the right way, I think it can be a really good crossover, and definitely within the commercial scene. We don't know what's going to happen over the next 3 years in the residential scene. If there's a change in administration, it may reinstate the investment tax credit. It's really hard to say. But as far as the commercial marketplace, a large commercial roofing contractor, if he hires a really good designer, one who understands solar and is a bona fide solar designer, he could make it work. And you can sub out the electrical, again, to an electrical company who understands solar, and the rest of it is just placing modules. It's just mechanical operation. It's plugging in two wires together and laying modules down and attaching them, hopefully with S5 goods.
There you go. Well, switching gears a little bit, I know that you have long been a proponent and supporter of trade associations, groups like Metal Construction Association and others. Why do you feel that that's important, and how has it benefited you in your career and building your business?
Well, it's not automatic. It's not like all it takes is to join an organization and good things are going to happen. I think it's certainly true that you get out of it what you put into it. And like trade show participation, it's a soft payback. CFOs hate soft paybacks. they want to be able to measure everything. But I've always been a joiner, Todd, and so I belong to numerous organizations. I do not devote time to them all equally. I don't have that much time. I belong to probably a dozen or more, but I direct my time and talents to the ones that I consider to afford lasting value to friendships as well as business relationships. My longest standing distributors, you mentioned Dick Buss earlier, and the other one is Peterson. I met those guys through MCA and in some cases MBMA. Of course, there are many, many more, but and those guys have been with S5 for more than 30 years now and bridged generations. So how do you measure the value of something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I learned most of what I know about metal roofing through trade associations and mentoring with people that were way smarter than I was. That's how I learned. I didn't learn that stuff in school, in college, or anything like that.
Well, and you certainly have been passing it along as well. So I'm curious, what has been the most rewarding part of your journey in this industry?
Well, I love to learn, but the most rewarding part of my journey is fulfilling my giftings and callings of and for God. 12 years ago, I started a family foundation, and the enterprise funds the foundation. And it's set up in perpetuity so that it survives me. And that's the most rewarding part of my journey in enterprise and in life.
That's cool stuff. We should all be so blessed to be able to say that. Well, been a real pleasure, privilege to chat with you here today, Rob. Is there anything we haven't covered that you wanted to be sure to share with our audience?
There's a whole mountain of stuff we haven't covered, Todd. We had a limited amount of time, but I'm writing a book about it. And maybe I'll even write two, one about personal anecdotal stories and family history and stuff like that, and another one about business enterprise and missteps and all the mistakes I've made. Anyway, stay tuned for that.
I'll be your first customer. I want a signed copy, though, so I got to make sure I get that. But
no problem.
Well, Rob, this has been a great time together. Before we close out, I have to ask you one more thing, and that is if you're willing to participate in something we call rapid fire questions. These are 5 questions, just random questions. All you have to do is give a quick response. Are you up to the challenge of rapid fire?
Yeah, in fact, I brought my own tool.
Nice.
Good deal. You are well prepared for this.
So have at it, Todd. Fire away.
Ryan, I'll let you ask the first one.
All right. Question number 1. What's a product or service you've acquired recently that's kind of been a game changer for you?
Oh, mercy. We're moving all the time, and we're always inventing new stuff. And I've invented some stuff that flopped in the marketplace, but thankfully most of it doesn't. And we have 10 or 12 patent applications into the patent office all the time, every day of every year. We just keep inventing things, and we never know for certain which ones are gonna really soar and which ones are gonna kind of a dud sort of thing.
So you always got things going on. That's great. I'm curious. Question number 2. Tell us about one of the most impressive metal roofs you've ever seen or been on or worked on or whatever.
I mentioned to you earlier that we have a satellite production facility in Bilbao, Spain. Because of the information exchange and the training that is taking place between the U.S. and Spain, we rented an apartment, a 3-bedroom apartment, so that we have some place to house people when we send technicians and engineers and so on over to Spain. And so in answer to your question, I don't know if you're familiar with the Guggenheim that was done by Franco Gehry
Sure.
in Bilbao. It's hard to differentiate what's a roof and what's a wall.
Wall, yeah, or structure, yes.
But it is quite a structure. Your audience can Google it, the Guggenheim in Bilbao, Spain. It's that material is titanium, and it's only 0.4 millimeter in gauge, and it's quite a striking thing. Another one done by the same architect is one of my favorite wineries in central Spain, and it's near LaGuardia. It's near LaGuardia, and that's the Marquès de Riscal winery. And the same architect did that. They built a hotel there. It's a Marriott chain hotel, and the same architect did that one. It's very similar.
Wow, I'm going to check that out as well. Okay, is the next one? No, it's yours. Back to you, Ryan.
Back to me. Question number 3. What is your favorite meal?
I would have to say lamb shanks. I know you expected me to say beef.
I was kind of thinking it was going to be steak.
It's lamb shanks.
Good answer. Next question. I might know the answer to this, but what did the 8-year-old Rob dream of being when he grew up?
Oh man, I dreamt of being a cowboy.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, I did for sure. I did.
Cool stuff. Living out your dreams.
I was. I have photographs of me on my dad's horse. You know, my folks were divorced when I was about 4, but I have photographs of me on my dad's horse, and my older brother is sitting in front, and I'm sitting in back, and I got a real sour puss on because and you could see my dad is pointing, instructing me to look at the camera because Grandpa was taking a picture, right? And I had a sour puss on me because I always rode in back, which was fine, but I preferred to stand up. That way I could see where we're going. You know, I could see over my brother's shoulders so I had a sour puss on because they made me sit down and look at the camera.
I think that photo needs to make the S5 website someday.
I think so too. I agree. All right, final question here. We'll kind of end on a serious note. At the end of your days, what would you like to be remembered for?
A lot of things, but improving the lives of other people, leaving a legacy involving certain values with my children and work ethic and that sort of thing. But I'm all about doing for others and improving the lives of others. And the mission statement of our family foundation is to do what Jesus did, which was to improve the lives of others. And he preached about the father, the widow, and the fatherless, and doing things. So the charities that the foundation supports are all aimed at making permanent changes in people's lives, and that goes from sexual slavery to rehabbing vets, and those sorts of charities. There are about 20 of them.
Cool stuff. Great answer. And you are doing it. Well, Rob, thank you very much for the role that you play in the industry and in the lives of so many. For those who want to learn about S5 or the Metal Roof Advisory Group, what are the best ways for them to do that?
Well, there are two websites, because one is a consultancy and the other is a product company. But S5's website is just www.s-5, 5.com. And the consultancy, the Metal Roof Advisory Group, is R.M. Haddock, like my name, Rob, R.M. Raymond Mary Haddock, HADDOCK.com, respectively.
Very good. Well, we will put those in the show notes as well. Rob, thank you again. What a pleasure. Always a joy to talk with you. Thank you.
Enjoyed visiting with you, Todd, and I guess I'll see you I'll see you at MetalCon.
Maybe MetalCon. Yep.
Yeah.
Good deal.
All right. Take care, gentlemen.
Well, thank you. And I want to thank our audience for tuning into this episode of Construction Disruption with Rob Haddock. Please watch for future episodes of our podcast. We always have great guests. Don't forget to leave us a review, give us a thumbs up, whatever. Keep on disrupting, keep on challenging, keep on looking for better ways of doing things. And don't forget to have a positive impact on everyone you encounter. Just as Rob was alluding to, make them smile, encourage them, make their life better. These are just such simple yet powerful things we can do. So God bless and take care. This is Isaiah Industries signing off until the next episode of Construction Disruption.
This podcast is produced by Isaiah Industries, manufacturer of specialty metal roofing and other building products.